Hello, friends, and welcome to Could Be Worse, a comedic literary analysis of dystopian novels. Because of the materials we cover, we often talk about intense or upsetting subject matter. This week's episode is a little different from normal. We don't get into as much of the heavy stuff, but there is mention of death, misogyny, intoxicants, and nuclear destruction. Hey! We read a very short book this time, so we're just not going to summarize it. It's just not going to happen. Read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. It contextualizes the upcoming goofs in the episode. Even a Cliff Notes perusal will do ya. Yeah, so enjoy.
Sky smoky overhead, all your friends are dead, and your government heads despise you. Members of the church criticize you. Aliens annexed your country. When the rats or the plague or the bread or the circus or the prevailing lack of a meaningful purpose, if injustice or sadness or robots feel like a curse, books never let you forget. It could be worse.
I'm recording.
Same. Hi, welcome to Could Be Worse. So this is a precursor episode to our one on the core of the sun because it uses a kind of a literary metaphor, I would say. Yeah?
Yeah.
That is borrowed from this book. So welcome to the special ep on The Time Machine by H.G. Wells.
Yay! I love this story.
I was more entranced by it than I was expecting.
H.G. Wells was a very good writer.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy his works very much. I especially enjoyed, so, hey audience. Hi, how's it going? It's your co-host, Bridget. I just thought I'd let all of you know that I watch a lot of sci-fi shows from the Sci-Fi Network. So it should come as no surprise to you that I've watched a great deal of Warehouse 13.
I mean, I might be a little surprised by this knowledge.
In the canon of which, they did say, oh, H.G. Wells was a woman.
Man, I did not know this twist in the sci-fi tale. And when I say sci-fi, I specifically mean S-Y-F-Y.
S-Y-F-Y,
the branded
yeah.
sci-fi tale.
The branded sci-fi tale, yeah. She's also like a major character going forward. Her name's Helena.
Well, I mean, should we accept this as canon in our reading of H.G. Wells' The Time Machine?
I mean, frankly, they do make some pretty compelling points in the show.
I have one major qualm with this, which is that I don't think that a lady author would treat Weena quite the same way.
She's very much a brash adventurer, I will say.
H.G. Wells or Weena?
H.G. Wells.
Okay, because I was going to say, Weena is like a scared dog a little bit.
God, the Eloy. So, I'll preface this by saying, I went ahead, because I'm like, I've got the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's my day off. So not only have I read the story, I've also watched the film.
Which film?
The one from 1960, not the one from, 2004?
Did it have The Rock in it?
It did not. The picture from, the redo?
Yeah.
No, that's Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Okay. You
I think
understand
that you're
my
thinking
confusion.
Who was in the Time Machine? I don't know.
I bet it was a cute boy. I don't know who it was.
Action man.
Okay, instead of looking it up, let's cast it. Let's cast. Oh, this is good. So, Bridget, you don't know this, but I've concocted some sections, some little segments, because we're not doing our usual ones. And this wasn't one that I planned, but it is one I am immediately implementing. Let's cast the entirety of The Time Machine.
Okay. Do we want to start off with all our boys in chapter 1?
I would love to. I wrote down most of their names.
Okay.
And when
I have the book
I use
in front
the term
of me.
names very loosely here. So first of all, you have the time traveler, but he feels like a meaty little morsel, so maybe we can leave him till later in the discussion.
I will say they do give us some deets. He is the only one, really, that we get deets that are not the Eloi or the Morlocks on how they look.
Totally.
So let's see here. Second mentioned character, good old Philby.
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 Love Philby. He is described as Philby, an argumentative person with red hair. I'm not saying that as, like, a descriptor that I wrote down. That's how he's introduced. Philby, an argumentative person with red hair. So this opens up to me that I would like to cast Philby irregardless of gender. Philby is agender.
Interesting.
I submit this to you.
Oh, do I have to cast Philby now?
Well, it's just I submit it as an option.
Yeah,
What
because
do you
everyone
think?
else is very, like, referred to in, like, masculine terms.
Yes. So I watched recently the Netflix original Marcella, and there is a particularly androgynous individual on that program, Charlie Culvel, who, if you dyed this person's hair, could be a Philby. Unfortunately, not born to this world with red hair, but, you know, who is. So I would submit Philby or Caleb Landry Jones.
See, you've struck to the heart of me with that casting.
Yes. It's a good one, I must
Caleb
admit.
Landry Jones featured in two Oscar-nominated pictures this year?
This is true. I don't remember what the second one was, but I know I was startled by it. Was it 3 Billboards?
3 Billboards was one. What was the other one?
Get Out.
Get Out, yeah.
He was the most ostentatious creep in the film, I would say.
Yeah, hang on. We're going to have to pause for a sec while my dog barks his head off.
I think maybe Sam is just voicing his displeasure that the only award that Get Out got was the screenplay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that Sam is just giving voice to a nation here. So we got Philby, I would say. We both feel good about Caleb Landry Jones playing this argumentative person with red hair.
Caleb Landry Jones, I believe I've talked about him on this podcast before, was in one of my all-time favorite, now 2 of my all-time favorite horror movies, both Get Out and Antiviral.
Oh, you have talked about Antiviral, and I keep meaning to watch it. He kind of cut his teeth in horror, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because he was in Last Exorcism.
He was so good in Last Exorcism.
He was extraordinarily good in Last Exorcism, a movie that did give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, that was a good one. I love a good exorcism film or possession film of some kind. They're not often done particularly well.
And that one really took the found footage genre and was like, yeah, they're a documentary crew. We're not gonna, like, dance around that.
Yeah, they definitely... This brings up something interesting about the time machine for me, because I feel like the time machine is of this particular type of... Because I think that what's interesting about the found film genre is that it does this thing that I find kind of adorable, which is that it like feels the need to justify why it's a movie.
Yeah.
Like I find it kind of darling that they're like, well, obviously this is on film now because someone who was filming was there, and so here we are. And there's a similar element to that in stories like The Time Machine, where it's framed in this way of like, well, I just happened to be there when someone was naturally telling an exciting narrative story, and I just wrote it down.
Yeah.
I would like to submit that maybe The Time Machine should be a found footage movie.
Ooh.
Because I think that is inherent in the original structure.
I mean, wouldn't you, if you were going to time travel, wouldn't you just strap a GoPro to yourself?
Oh, 100%. And I also think it's funny that, like, the at the end of the story, when he goes out a second time, he's got a camera and he's like, I'm gonna get it this time. Never comes back. So you could totally do it from, like, in the future, somebody finds his camera or whatever. And that could be the beginning of the tale.
Yeah.
And then you could have a modern found footage movie with, like, an old-timey film camera. I just think it would be fun, you know?
Yes.
Cool, so we've cast Philby. I'm just going to rattle off the list of other people here. You have the psychologist, provincial mayor, a medical man, the editor, the journalist, capitalized, the silent man. But I have regarded him in my notes as the shy beard boy because he's sort of like ominously put forward as like this bearded man who never spoke, who handed me the cup of tea and looked at me meaningfully, but he doesn't know anything more than anyone else. He's just a silent man at the table. So I think we should pay particular attention to this red herring fella.
There's also the very young man.
Yes, a very young man, which is initially not capitalized, but then later capitalized as if that's his profession. And then there, of course, is I, the person retelling the story that the time traveler was originally telling, which I think we could cast for sure.
The nice thing about I, also not like, this is a man.
Totally. So, you know, we could go any which way on that one. So let's do this. Who's the psychologist?
See here. Oh, well, the psychologist is super boring because I did make this note. He gets so excited for one might travel back and verify the accepted account of the Battle of Hastings, for instance. Wow, really? That's what you want to do? You just want to sit there behind a tree and hope no one sees you? Fucking weirdo.
So that should be a boring... someone whose face just telegraphs like, I'm not serious here. Just pass over me. Is there an actor you feel that way about?
Not necessarily that way about, but I think an actor who could have fun with the role, as we have seen in the smash hits Paddington 1 and 2, would be Mr. Hugh Bonneville.
Ooh. Oh, he does strike one as like a very nice man who would maybe have boring ideas at a dinner party. I'm not saying that about Hugh Bonneville, but he does kind of have that face.
He's got that character type, which is great. Mm-hmm. It works very well for him being Mr. Brown in Paddington Bear.
Totally.
He crushes that role. God. Hey, everyone, if you haven't watched Paddington or Paddington 2, please do. They're a cinematic delight.
Hey, Bridget, stop calling me out on my own fucking podcast. Okay, I get it. I'll watch Paddington.
It's so good. It's so good.
I believe ya. I never doubted you for a second. I'm just saying. There's a lot of... I had to watch all of Marcella, you know?
Look, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of animated movies that come out this year that are going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Fresh year, fresh start. However, Paddington 2 for the Oscar. It's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but remember it is about a bear.
It's about a bear, but it's also about Brexit and racism.
Okay, maybe I haven't quite educated myself about the intricacies of this bear. We will revisit this at a later time.
And family. It's also about family. Everyone, please go watch the Paddington films.
Hey, Bridget, I love this. I love it, but I'm afraid that Paddington has already been cast, and our brilliant retelling of the time machine has,
not.
Thin on the ground, our cast members. So...
All right, let's move on.
So, psychologist is Hugh Bonneville. Who do we want for our journalist?
Is the journal... I'm going through in order of appearance. Okay. What are the descriptors for the journalist again?
Well, let's wait on that then, because the journalist, the editor... Okay. We'll address my questions about the second dinner party when we get there. Let's then cast a very young man. Now, I would like to go hilariously young on this and just have a boy. How do we feel about including just a boy at the dinner party? Like a
How about this?
Like a Tremblay. You know what I mean?
Hear me out. He's big star right now. Be a big get. But young and foolish. But still, like, you could imagine him saying, like, I want to go back to ancient Greece. watch a debate or two. Mm-hmm. Mr. Finn Wolfhard.
Finn Wolfhard. Interesting. He is a bit of a teen.
I'm saying, because he kind of has to be a teen. Or else, frankly, Caitlin, what is he doing at that party?
Here's what I'm saying. I don't know and I love it. like I want people who watch this movie, like sort of the way that we thought that the old lady randomly kissing Tom Cruise was very strange in Minority Report. I'd like people to leave the movie taking it as a whole and being like, yeah, I get what they were doing here. Who was that boy?
Who was that young man?
Like, he can read yet, but does he know cursive? Like, that's the age level I'm looking for.
I suppose we could go with a Tremblay.
Okay. There's that one. So he's also kind of getting into his teen years, but another one from the Stranger Things ensemble. I don't know his name. The little boy who plays Will.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he just looks like a baby.
He does look like a little baby. And for some reason, I find it...
Here's the problem with Will, that actor whose name I cannot also remember, is that he has the very misfortune of not having been in the first season a lot, so he did not go on as many press tours as the other kids did.
Yeah.
And he was not included in as many magazines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we know a lot less about him.
Okay, I'm gonna look up this young boy's name. Stranger Things Will actor. I will say another thing that he was in. His name is Noah Schnapp.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that he was in was a Panic at the Disco video, and it's pretty startling how close his role in that Panic at the Disco video was to his role in season 2 of Stranger Things.
When was this Panic at the Disco?
In between seasons.
Ooh, interesting.
I just had, it's just worth noting. I'm just going to float that. See if anybody bites with any extra information. I'm a safe place to come with any conspiracies about the construction of narratives post other projects actors might be in. So Noah Schnapp is an option.
I like him.
Because the thing about him is he's got one of them baby faces. So even as he gets taller, he's gonna look like a boy.
He's gonna do what, Bran from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna get reedy.
Where Bran is like, what, approaching 6 feet tall now, but they're like, shove him in a wheelbarrow, no one will be able to tell. It's just a very deep wheelbarrow. Still got the same face.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could solve more of my problems as they crop up in life with just
a real deep wheelbarrow.
Throw myself in a little wheelbarrow. Okay, so that's like half the dinner party in the first one. Provincial mayor. We need someone a little blustery, I would imagine. He's got power, but not a lot of it, just enough to go mad with it, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who's got that kind of...
Who's got that heat?
Yeah. Who's the guy who
or
played
lack thereof.
Churchill in Doctor Who?
Oh.
He's real cheeky, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mean that in the actual British way. I just mean he's got a lot of cheek to work with. And I think that's really important in a mayor.
In a mayor that maybe you're not necessarily supposed to like.
Yeah.
Although, hear me out. See, he's already played a provincial mayor, but God, he did such a good job of it, which is Alfred Molina, basically reprising his role from Chocolat.
What if? No, okay, that was going to be too far. I was going to say, what if he's the same mayor, but I don't actually want that for my...
We're not going to put this in France.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
I just wanted to talk about one of my favorite movies, Chocolat.
Congrats on working it in.
It's good.
On the time machine.
It's a good picture.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay, maybe let's go out of left field with provincial mayor. Maybe I'm leaning into stereotypes, you know what I mean? Maybe he needs to be just crazy hot.
Or, hear me out, Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
I see what you're saying. I just would love him to be very hot, Bridget. I just, I had the thought and then I got really attached to it.
Having a mayor who just wants the best for his town.
Just like he wants to get stuff done, but he can't because everyone's distracted because he's too hot. That's why he hasn't climbed the ladder. It's not his preponderance of cheek meat. No, it's them other cheeks. He can't get anything done because everyone's just like, sir, yeah, you can't see the brains for the butt is what I'm saying. He's just too lean of a cut, you know?
All right, then. Who do we want to be our hot provincial mayor?
I mean, there's a lot of hot people in this world. I mean, obviously Idris Elba is too big to say yes, but of course I'd love him to be the too hot mayor who's in a scene, 2 scenes, not a lot of scenes.
I feel. You know what? I feel like we could get Driss on this.
Yeah.
He still does some television for the BBC.
Yeah, let's snag Driss.
Let's get Driss on this.
Let's get my delicious Elba toast a firing on this picture. Okay, we have our hot provincial mayor. That's beautiful. And now we need a medical man.
The medical man who is a little bit, in the movie at least, I'm trying to remind myself, he's a little bit of a downer in the movie. They kind of do him dirty.
Oh, so we need like an Eeyore.
Yeah. So in the...
I know exactly who it needs to be.
Who?
Okay, I need to look up his name.
Is it Brad Garrett, the current voice of Eeyore?
It's not Brad Garrett, but I won't lie to you and say that his name didn't occur at a certain point. No, this is a fella who is currently on TV, brings me a lot of joy. His name is Tom Hughes. He plays Prince Albert in the hit PBS show Victoria.
Oh, yeah.
He is the sulkiest little German on that show, and I love him.
So real talk, everyone. I tried watching Victoria. I was recently unemployed for a length of time, so I had time to catch up on my television. So I thought, I'll catch up on Victoria. New season's popping off soon. I could barely make it through 2 episodes. They're so long.
They're very long, and there is okay, so I don't watch Victoria myself, but family members do, and so I'm often in the room while Victoria is playing. And a thing that I have discovered is that it feels like the moments that I watch have gotten more action-packed the deeper into the show that we get. So it's kind of a slog at the beginning. It's sort of like that first chunk of Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
That you sort of don't remember as well as the rest of the movie. That's kind of Victoria early on. But the thing that kept getting me through was good old Tom Hughes. I don't think he's actually German, but his German accent is like distinctly petulant, which is sort of the greatest kind of German accent to have. And he has just like the most bodacious curls, like dark little ringlets falling into his piercing, sad blue eyes, and his little mustache accenting all of his little German pouts.
His little German pouts, and he's so just either disdainful or disappointed. Those are Albert's 2 moods.
Totally. Or like begrudgingly aroused, because Victoria and Albert could not keep their GD hands off each other. But like Albert
a hornier royal couple there has never been.
They were so horny for each other, they thought it would spill over into the nation such that they had to add little pieces of paper to cover the ankles of turkeys once roasted. This is how horny this couple was for each other. But what I'm saying
Horny,
is...
and also, can I just say, commend them. Like, most of their children lived well into their adulthood.
Yeah.
That's a freaking boon for royalty.
It really got
most
them
of your
places.
children all past 30. Congratulations.
You did it. I just think he would make a delightful, sad doctor who, like, can't quite believe time travel. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I would like him to pick up a flower disbelievingly and be like, well, maybe it's from the future. No, it couldn't be. That was my terrible, terrible 2-second German accent. I have one that's better, but I will not do it.
What is the better one?
It is a character that I do for my mom called Gunther, and I believe you have heard it before, Bridget.
Oh, I do love Gunther.
Yeah.
Gunther.
Now we kind of got to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Gunther came about because it was Mother's Day, and I made my mother a waffle, and right as it was perfect, she likes them with, like, the strawberries and whipped cream on top, but she also likes a crispy waffle, which is, like, such a dance of time and entropy. And so right as I, like, dished it up, she, like, went out into the garden, and so I was like, our window was swiftly closing. This is exactly like the end of the first Avengers movie. Tony Stark is going to die in space if you don't eat this waffle immediately. And so I ran after her, and I was just yelling, Mom, your waffle, Mom. And then it turned into, Mutter, your waffle is ready. Mutter, come back. And that was the beginning of Gunther. Gunther makes appearances on family vacations and holidays and birthdays because my mother loves Gunther so much. And that is the story of Gunther. When I said it was a better accent, note that I didn't say it was a good accent.
I will also say, I have heard Gunther appear when you are making something German in origin.
How do you mean? When I'm transmogrifying an object to make it from Germany? This is witchcraft. I do not partake.
No, well, I guess you were... Oh, God, what food were you making? No, you were eating... Were you eating sauerkraut? You were eating something, and you went into the Gunther voice while your mom was passing through the kitchen. And it was not... It was not a holiday. This was years ago.
Yeah, well, Gunther's been around for a while, you know? Gunther's been around... Holy shit, Gunther's been around for a decade.
God.
This is a lot to process.
Caitlin, we're old.
Let's not talk about my eventual demise. Let us continue to cast the time machine.
Yes, our next speaker is the editor.
Yes. Someone possessing of a lot of presence, you know?
Yeah.
Like a Christopher Plummer type, but, like, not Christopher Plummer.
And he's very, like, wordy. Like, he likes to talk a lot.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. And he really wants to know the story. And he's very funny and excitable.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the editor. Oh! They have names. We don't know whose names are whose. I just saw that.
Blank, Dash, and Chose.
Yeah.
They sound, if I may, like fucking knockoff reindeer. What like if we cast reindeer?
This is like the J team. They're the very like. After that, we're strapping up freaking seals and just hoping.
Arctic seals, though, so still like on brand.
Yeah. They got a lot of teeth.
Does that mean that Silent Man is probably Chose?
Yes.
It sounds like... Okay. These are dumb names.
I know. I just realized... I had just not realized on my first read-through that they actually received names.
Yeah. But barely applied. Almost to the degree that you could think that they were, like, other people at the dinner table. You know?
Yes.
But let's say that Blank is the journalist, Dash is the editor, and Chose is Silent Man, the shy beard boy.
Yes. Can I say, despite the editor being referred to as male, I think perhaps a female editor.
Oh, I'm so on board for this.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone specific in mind?
All right. They have to be a little bit older than, like, someone in their 30s, because that's the whole thing. My mom hates this trope where someone is in a very high-ranking position at their job, and it's like, cool, you're 32. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That you'd be the editor of a magazine or something.
Like 13 going on 30, Jennifer Garner is not in the position she's in.
No. God, no. 13
Yeah.
going on 30 is one of them. There's just so many.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Let's see here. Gosh. I had this great idea, and then...
Ann Dowd.
Oh, that's good.
God, please let me put Ann Dowd in. It sort of ruins something that I've been sitting on for a potential time traveler, but I'll accept it if I can just put Ann Dowd in something.
Yes. Absolutely.
God, I love Ann Dowd. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so we've firmly cast the editor.
Firmly cast the editor. Or journalist.
Like, do we want to do like young, hungry journalist, or like jaded, I've been everywhere kind of journalist?
I'm going towards the end where the journalist talks more. Get a sense of their dialogue.
Yeah.
I will say, I just think that young, hungry journalist is cooler.
Okay, all right. Someone's still enraptured with their own potential who would maybe consider taking on a time travel story.
Tyler Posey.
Oh, you know me. I love putting a Tyler in there.
He can just go anywhere and everywhere in any story, and it's like, yeah, that works.
Yeah, I'm behind this. I would love to put Tyler Posey in something. And also he doesn't really get the chance to be like to like wear a collar. You know what I mean? Like wear a crisp collar. He's still pretty in that like getting cast as a teen or as a early 20s guy where it doesn't matter what his job is.
He just wears like jeans and a t-shirt, and it's like, got it.
Yeah, I would just love to see him in a
cravat.
Just, oh god, a cravat. Would love it. Even
you know what? Even a bold pocket square.
Ooh. Oh, Bridget, well done. I also have a thought for Shy Beard Boy.
Okay, yes. You are very adamant about your Shy Beard Boy. I would love to hear your thoughts about Shy Beard Boy.
I would like Shy Beard Boy to be played by William Jackson Harper from The Good Place, a.k.a. Chidi Adagonye, a.k.a. the cutest boy on television who I recently saw with a beard in a trailer for a new movie he's going to be in.
Oh, yes, I've seen that trailer. The beard is excellent.
It's divine. It's luxurious, even. So I would very much like to put the cutest boy in the world, William Jackson Harper. Or Harper Jackson. Jackson Harper. I got it right the first time. What up?
Also, as we make this movie, maybe he'll bring his awesome dog to set?
I don't know this about this actual human being. Does he have a very good dog?
He has a very good dog.
Okay. Sure.
Someone has not been looking at all the cast members of The Good Place's Instagrams, clearly.
Bridget, I'm not doing like a deep dive. I'm not trying to like figure out if I can blackmail the people that are on the TV shows I enjoy. I just, like it to look at pictures of them looking very lovely.
Blackmail, befriend, potato, tomato. Who could say?
Those are different words. Bridget, again, you concern me. So this is pretty much the whole party except for casting the like I character and casting the time traveler. Which would you like to cast first?
Let's cast I.
Okay. Your thoughts.
Our storyteller, one of our storytellers.
Yeah.
Who
have you always just wanted to like put in something? Who do you think gets like undercast?
Who do I think is undercast? Oh, it's a tough one. I'm trying to think of who, whenever I see them appearing in something, I'm just delighted because I'm like, oh, you did it. I'm so happy for you. Let me just open up the old Grahamtown. Let me just go to Grahamtown real quick because that will help if I look through who I follow. Sorry, it's taking a sec. I follow way too many people on Instagram.
Okay. I have a thought, but I feel like I've been kind of like steamrolling.
Okay, I have an
a lot
idea
of
for the
cast.
time traveler.
Okay.
I don't know who to cast as I. Why don't you go on I? Because I'm stuck. But I just have very strong thoughts about the time traveler.
Oh, dang. Well, maybe you should go then, because maybe you'll convince me, because I have one that could go either way.
Here is someone who every time they are in something, he could go I or time traveler. I would really love time traveler. That way I could just get as much time as possible with this person on screen. Every time they appear in anything, I'm just delighted. Mm-hmm. It's the best. And that would be Mr. John Cho.
Oh, John Cho.
Oh, John Cho.
Oh, John Cho. Mm-hmm. Oh, he is a very compelling face and actor also. I feel like I keep putting people's appearances before the... I would just like to say I think everyone that we have cast is talented, but I do get distracted by some faces sometimes, and that's fine and human and whatever. Leave me alone. I mean, I have depth and soul, and I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, John Cho, we know he can do action. We know he can do drama. We know he can do romance. Yes, he can. Have you seen Selfie? Underrated classic.
Also from Selfie, he can do that sort of like dismissive cold thing when he needs to, i.e. when he sees the Morlocks or like is pushing Weena to like come out with them into these places where she's terrified.
Yes.
So like that sort of colder, removed element you could also see. May I submit who I think could be either the time traveler or I? Mm-hmm. Jaime Camille, who plays Rogelio de la Vega, Jane the Virgin. So again, on my super shallow, purely aesthetic reason, the man is so good. So that's one thing. And also, like, I don't know. Okay, Bridget, you just need to stick with me on this particularly shallow part. His hair, when it's like been set free from the like very specific Rogelio coif, is like an incredible fount of like wonderful curls. And I just think that like, I would just like to see more curls in cinema, and I don't think that's wrong. But also, he's got like a wide range, and he's like very funny and very like he's evocative of a lot of warm feelings. And I think that he would be very good as either. I would like to say that both of these people are very good at listening on screen. Like I feel like both John Cho and Jaime Camille, you like very much feel connected to and identify with them when they're listening to other people on screen. And that's like some of my favorite parts of like TV shows, movies, acting, whatever, is like watching someone watch other people, and they make it compelling.
It is a challenge.
I think it's difficult to split the difference in terms of time traveler, which both would be very actively compelling in, and the I character, because they're both very good on-screen listeners.
You know what? Let's post a Twitter poll when this episode comes out.
Yes.
And Twitter and Facebook polls, and then we will aggregate the results. I think I used that word right. I haven't taken a math class in a very long time.
Sure, I believe in it. And
we will figure out who would you guys rather see as the time traveler, and then the runner up will be the I.
Yeah. I love it. Also, if this were an on-stage version, we could totally do that Frankenstein switching roles thing.
Oh, God. So good.
I would just like to put that forward as well. And I feel that we have successfully cast our found footage movie of The Time Machine. Thank you very much, Bridget. It's been wonderful doing this good work with you. Surprise, I have more segments. I know that one took 42 minutes, but...
There's some pauses while I look through my Instagram to try to figure out who I like.
Yeah.
Look, not everyone posts every day, so sometimes they get knocked down the list.
This segment is called Words I Learned, where I'm going to tell you what words I didn't know going into this book, and then we're just going to try to like use them in a sentence very quickly. It's sort of a more rapid fire segment. I hope that this is okay, Bridget.
It is. Can I just say, real
Yes.
quick, speaking of words, the length, breadth, thickness, and duration. Nice.
Yeah, no, it was an extremely nice discussion. Words I didn't know. Number 1, recondite, meaning little known or obscure.
Ooh.
So let's try to use that in a sentence real quick.
I have recently obtained some recondite knowledge about Finnish history.
Oh, hit me with it.
Oh, well, I'll hit you with it in our next episode.
Yeah. Fucking putting you on tenterhooks over here, my audience.
Are you going to know what that
Tenterhooks.
recondite knowledge is? Or tune in next time to find out. Don't know why I went Macho Man Randy Savage there.
See, I was going to say I love that your, like, intimidation voice is, like, that of a very old man in, like, a children's sketch show. You know what I mean? Like, that's how, like...
It's Macho Man Randy Savage as he is dying. Is Randy Savage dead? I don't know. Sorry
As I Lay
if he
Dying
is.
by Macho Man Randy Savage. Is this what you're proposing? Read in that voice. Okay. So recondite, we've used it. So something that I guessed that this was akin to what it was because of the word halitosis, but halitus, meaning breath or vapor. I was recently beset by the wretched halitus of a seatmate on the bus.
Ooh.
So that's just a good word for y'all to use. Connubial, relating to marriage.
I have seen that one before, but it's one of those... That's one of those words where you see it and your brain just kind of, like, auto-fills in what it means and just kind of skips over the fact that it's a bit unusual.
Yeah, you kind of, like, get it in context, but you could never use it in a sentence because it would never occur to you. And you wouldn't really quite know.
For example, passerbys should not have input on connubial matters.
I detest comedians who speak entirely of the burdens of connubial life.
Ooh, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
If anything, I like when they talk about how great it is.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
A little John
Locals?
Mulaney.
yeah, he's great.
Or a little Ali Wong.
Local Seattle stand-up, Emmett Montgomery, who was on Last Comic Standing, I think with this bit, has a beautiful bit about his incredible wife, and it is just a treat, and I encourage you to look it up. Anyway, trammels is a word, much like connubial for you, where I had heard it a lot in context, but didn't really know what they were. So, like, trammels are, like, bindings or impediments to freedom in some way. Like, I am not good at bowling, so I requested that they trammel the lane. That
I'm sure that's not the kind of sentence it's usually used in.
No, but it definitely does apply to events from my past. Continuing on, Cicerone is the guide of a historical place. So he's talking about how he doesn't have a lot of information on how the society in the future runs because he did not have a cicerone to assist him and guide him around. I think this is also the name of, like, a beer knowledge test now, which is very funny to me. like a test of your knowledge of wine and other spirits as well. But
Interesting.
yeah. That was mainly how I wanted to use that one, is that now if you want to become a person who guides people around wine and booze and beer, you have to pass your cicerone. So this one is sort of weird. Occidental. I never knew what that word meant. I had heard the term Occidental College.
Does it have to do with a religion? Yeah?
No, it does not. So it's spelled like accidental, but with an O instead of an A. And it is the partner word to Oriental. So where Oriental was supposed to mean of the East, Occidental is supposed to mean of the West.
Oh, Oh, so it's one of those things where it's like related to trash, but nobody really knew what it was, so it kind of just snuck by and is still used today.
It's not, because I don't know if it's still used today so much beyond just the name of that college, but it's just like it's a word that's part of a mindset that is like no longer extant.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was I just thought that it was of note.
I always had assumed that it was something like Church of England adjacent.
Totally. It sounds like a religion thing, but it is not.
It is not.
And then finally, cupola or cupola. I'm not sure which one, which means a small dome.
Yeah.
And they refer to it a lot in the future because all of the like weird wells that he goes down where the Morlocks come up from the underground are covered in small cupolas or cupolas. I should have looked it up and I didn't. But honestly, who fucking gives a shit?
It's interesting because they're not too dissimilar from a gazebo, if you will.
Yeah.
Mini amusement parks feature cupolas or cupolas so that you can seek shelter from any inclement weather.
Yeah, yeah. So with one of your favorite, I mean, okay, we can cut this if you do not feel comfortable with other people talking about this on the podcast, but your particular interest of amusement park disasters.
Oh, I'm absolutely comfortable about talking about this.
Cool. So you could use it to describe something of like the horror of the scene
was witnessed from the cupola.
Yeah, or they took shelter from the terrible visage of the roller coaster by hiding beneath the local cupola.
Replete with a water-spraying fan.
And there you have it. That was Words I Didn't Know. Wow. This is another section that there's really only one thing that I have for it, but I'm curious, or two things, I suppose. But I am going to put this one forward. This segment is called Things They Got Away With. And it's things that they got away with in the book. Number one, not naming any characters. These characters did not have a name. This is a classic novel wherein very few people have any names whatsoever.
I'm trying to look through. So, let me take this moment to say, at one point in my, in the past few months, because I knew we were going to do the Time Machine, I bought myself a little paperback copy of the Time Machine thinking, oh, I can dog ear this, I can write in this. I can't find it since my move. So, instead, I have had to use a very beautiful leather-bound collection of H.G. Wells novels, the greatest hits, if you will. Mm-hmm. It was received from a family friend who is a Catholic priest. It's from beautiful 1984. It's just a real gorgeous edition, so all my notes had to be on the outside. I'll take a picture and post it to Instagram, because really, this is just a beautiful book that I spent a lot of time with as a kid.
Magnificent. Anyway,
continuing on. He names people in other books of his. Just a quick scan through. It's just a real weird one. Everyone's referred to as by last names almost entirely, but that's, the Times.
Yeah, no, that's just a British anachronistic thing.
By the way, if I can recommend another one, in this book is immediately followed by one of my other favorite tales I believe I've talked about on the podcast before. I've at least made fun of Caitlin privately, which is The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah. She
hates it. I love it. It also features...
It's been a while since I read it, to be fair.
It's still pretty nasty. The Food of the Gods is another good one, if you are into terrifying monster-sized chickens.
Who isn't? We all read the Hoboken Chicken Emergency. I think another thing that they got away with in this book is just killing Weena off screen and then having him be like, well, I was sad about it at the time, but now that I've had dinner...
Yeah,
just seems kind of distant.
He's very callous in a strange way. Also, I don't think they ever really resolved the part where they're in the museum and he goes out and he pushes her out and he's like, dance!
Yeah.
Like, what was... I reread that passage and I'm like, you weren't... Nothing came of it. What were you...
Yeah, here's the thing that I think is just like, you know, we've been having a fun time about this book, but I'm just going to get kind of serious about it for a second. There's just like a lot of... like, this is just fully, like, what a colonialist mindset coming across another time as if it is another country is resulting in. You know what I mean?
Oh, that does happen in the movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you a little sneak peek of my movie take. At one point, he is talking to Weena, who, by the way, everyone is now full-grown adults.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. Because it would be uncomfortable to actually see the visual of this, like, child-looking woman being carted about like a pet by a full-grown man.
Yes. But he does find out that they don't know... Not the Eloi and the Morlocks don't know what fire is. And so,
yeah.
and like, they don't know what book, they really don't know, like, how books work or anything. And he does say, basically pertaining to their lack of knowledge, that it would be the same as going to the island of Bali in my own time.
Wow.
This movie was made in 1960.
That's a long time after. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Who's in this 1960s movie?
Oh gosh, no one we would know. Just a bunch of British people.
Okay.
Who really weren't like also American household names.
Yeah. I mean, I think he says something similar in the book, but you just anticipate that in the just fullness of time between the writing of the book and the making of a movie in 1960, at the, the 1960s. I don't know if it was exactly 1960.
It was 1960.
But you just think that there would be an evolution of thought in terms of words that would come out of the mouth of a protagonist. But, who am I? Who am I?
Cut that line.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot, and it doesn't take away from the book. Anyway, but I also think that the way that he, responds to the Morlocks... I think that the way he responds to the Eloi is, accepting, but patronizing.
Yeah.
But I think the way that he, regards the Morlocks is just reprehensible.
Yeah.
They showed the exact same way, they expressed curiosity about him the exact same way that Eloi did, but he just, is ugh, I find you revolting for no particular reason. And that's why I think that, whoever does portray the time traveler in a movie would have to have that element of coldness, because, he's an engaging person who's very interesting in his actions and his curiosity, but in terms also of his action and paradigm is kind of a monster. And that's another thing they got away with, rounding us out with 3 items. There's a bit, I'm about to read a large swath of a paragraph here. So this is the time traveler talking about how we exist in space. So any real body must have extensions in 4 directions. Here's your favorite bit, Bridget.
Hey.
It must have length, breadth, thickness, and duration.
Wink.
But through a natural infirmity of the flesh, which I will explain to you in a moment, we incline to overlook this fact. There are really 4 dimensions, 3 which we call the 3 planes of space, and a 4th, time. There is, however, a tendency to draw an unreal distinction between the former 3 dimensions and the latter, because it happens that our consciousness moves intermittently in one direction along the ladder from the beginning to the end of our lives. Do you think perhaps, Bridget, that the British pop group One Direction is indeed named for the intermittent line of our consciousness from the beginning to the end of our lives, and in doing so encompass the lives of many a young woman from all over the globe? Discuss.
I think it would be a very interesting thing if someone could send this bit of the podcast onto, I believe, if my lore is correct, I believe it was Mr. Louis Tomlinson, who really pushed for the name of the group.
Interesting.
I cannot exactly remember. All I have heard is hearsay from those halcyon X Factor days when they were just but babes.
Indeed.
If someone could pass this along to, frankly, all of them, I would be intrigued to know, hey, did any of you ever read The Time Machine? Was this hanging around in the back of those old noggins, and you just peered through those dusty cobwebs when you were looking for a name, and you were like, aha! Eureka!
If we looked critically into the lyrics and design of the multiple One Direction albums, would we find an underlying thread of just, like, the linear experience of time, boys?
I would say so, pretty much. You can get that out of History, AM, definitely Act My Age.
Indeed. There is actually a fair amount of, like, I'm reminiscing about the past, I'm looking towards the future. Not a whole lot of being in the moment.
Not a whole lot of being in the moment. A lot of songs about especially in the last album, In the Wind. Talking about the kind of grand design of time, and that we all drift away from each other into the great nothing.
I feel like I will confidently say that the position of this podcast is that the entire catalog of One Direction songs ultimately amount to the Time Machine fan fiction and exist within the canon of the Time Machine.
If In the Wind is not the when I figures out, oh my god, he's gone again.
Yeah.
And that should be our end credits song.
Truly, we've crushed it on this particular segment. Is this about One Direction? Discuss. Finally, Bridget, we come to the end. My final planned segment, because we don't have like a sweetie. I wanted to do a little section that I would like to call Most Roasted, Most Toasted. And what this is this. I would like to pick the person from the book that you think got, like, the severest roasting by the novel. If we can call it that. Novella, perhaps.
Yeah.
And who was the most toasted, i.e. who was the biggest stoner at the dinner party? Proceed.
Ooh.
I have my own opinions, but I feel like it's unfair to voice them at the beginning of this segment.
Give me a moment. So, they're different in the book and the movie, I will say. I'd say probably Philby in the book is the most roasted.
I 100% agree. I'm so glad you said it.
And I believe that the editor is the most toasted.
Interesting. Not who I picked for the biggest stoner.
Because I think the editor is just having a grand old time. Like, at one point, he just shouts, "Story!"
Oh, he does.
Which
is he
very much a thing I do when I'm toasted.
Here's the thing, though. Is he in his cups or is he in his bowl? You know what I mean?
Hey. I mean, hey, why not both?
It's true. Celebration. We will have crunchy tacos tonight. But
you eat a little edible, and then you enjoy yourself a nice Merlot. It's God's plan for us all.
To partake of the winsome wine and the kind herb hand in hand. Why do you think that Philby is the most roasted?
He is presented as an argumentative person. And he's just so disbelieving. He's just so like, cannot be!
May I put forward why I think that Philby receives the roundest roasting of the group?
Yes.
No one else gets that specific of a name. I fully believe Philby to be a person that H.G. Wells knew in real life.
Ooh.
Like,
that's a good take.
Like, I think that the reason he didn't name anybody else is because he wanted to fucking pinpoint a burn our good friend Philby. Also very specific with the hair color. Nobody else, I don't think, had their hair color mentioned who wasn't a member of the Alloy.
It's very, now that you mention it, it's very like Dante's Inferno where like, nah, fuck you. You're going in the book and you're going to be an asshole.
Yeah. Like, Philby is H.G. Wells' bud. Philby was at a party. Philby laughed at one of H.G. Wells' speculative ideas. And so Philby got put in the book as the person who was like, no, this can't possibly be real. Oh, Philby, you made a mistake. You goofed on an author in front of people at a party. Now you're immortalized as an argumentative person with red hair. Everybody in their social circle knew who Philby was. That's my take on why Philby is the most roasted. I had a different take on who was the most toasted. May I put it forward?
Yes.
I think it was the time traveler. Like, tell me I'm wrong, though?
No, yeah, I mean, frankly, what that future fruit do? We don't know.
Why did he hold on to those specific future plans? You know what I'm saying? I think somebody found some psychoactive leaves on that plant, took the fruiting body of the plant away to continue the line, but further in the... Oh, because I bet what he was doing, here's what it is, Bridgetown. Brought the flowers back, used them to, like, pollinate a, like, related plant. Is like, okay, so it's not going to be potent. It's not going to be potent enough in this iteration, but once I get this plant going, I'll plant it up here. I know it'll propagate. I'm going to go into the future when it's psychoactive. He didn't get, like, hurt in the future when he took his camera with him. He was just going on vacay. Just, got lost in the Shambhala of the weed paradise that he had created. And just never returned from those hazy shores. I don't actually believe that. That part I kind of made up. But I do genuinely think that, like, he just was having people around his house so that he could talk about his, like, blazed out ideas.
I mean, don't we all?
I mean, it's the dream, it's the lifestyle, but I'm just saying, most roasted, Philby. Most toasted, time traveler.
I can agree to this.
Cool. I also think the editor is a perfectly convincing take. I think that the editor is a partier for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think probably at the dinner party, matching that time traveler toque for toque.
Yeah. So in the movie, there are it's the medical man, the psychologist, and Philby. There's one other dude. There's one other dude that they don't really say what he does. Mm-hmm. They didn't follow it exactly. Surprise, surprise. They all also have names. I don't remember what any of them are.
Cowardly to give them names.
But they're there at the there's the original dinner party where he demonstrates. Mm-hmm. It's on New Year's Eve leading into the new century, so it's December 31st, 1899. Mm-hmm. And he does his demonstration, and then they come back, and then one man who I believe is supposed to be the psychologist, when they're sitting down for dinner, like, he's late, and he's like, you gotta say this about him. He's got the best cellars in South London, and just pours himself a big old glass of what I'm assuming is claret.
Hell yeah.
And then the time traveler stumbles in, and he's like, I need food and a drink. And so the psychologist hands over his claret, and then immediately pours himself another glass.
Damn.
A glass of claret that he hands to him, by the way, I'm pretty sure he had already taken a sip out of.
Let the claret flow.
Get it flowing. Get it off and popping. Claret has a pretty high ABV, too, so...
I believe you.
It's a more desserty wine.
I have one final thought. I have one final thought that could become a discussion. Okay. Do you have anything that you would like to speak to about this?
I did just want to talk briefly about the movie. Uh-huh. There's a bit that's very well known where he's looking through the window of his laboratory, which is basically a greenhouse. Mm-hmm. And there's a shop across the way and the mannequin, and he watches the fashions of the time change through the mannequin, and it's very silly that a store would keep a mannequin for that long.
Yeah, in the same exact position.
He stops periodically. He stops in 1917, and he stops in 1966.
Of course, he stopped in the fucking 60s in the movie made in the 60s.
Well, it's after the movie has been made. And so in 1917, he stops and he believes he is taught. He sees who he thinks is Philby entering the store across the way in a military uniform. It is not Philby. It is, in fact, Philby's son, Jamie, who was a baby, or like a toddler, I guess, when in 1900. And he's like, oh yeah, my dad died on the front. How do you not know there's a war going on?
Huh.
And then we go forward to 1966, and all of a sudden there's like an air raid siren, and he's like, what's that noise? And it's for bomb shelters. We've already gone through the Blitz at this point, by the way.
Yeah, well, this is the 60s.
Yes, so we've gone through the Blitz, but now there's like an atomic satellite, and he sees the James Philby as like an old man in like this weird silver spacesuit thing, trying to run into the atomic shelter. The atomic shelters do not work. Everybody dies. London is destroyed.
Yikes,
And then there's a volcano.
What?
Yeah.
What?
You know, all those British volcanoes. I mean, it's an island, so naturally it had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the Atlantic Rim, that famous...
Yeah.
That famous hot spot.
But it's pretty freaking wacky. All the Alloy have natural eyeshadow, and instead of the curls that end sharply at their chin, the women have slightly longer hair. Of course, Weena's hair is very pretty. Everybody else has boring hair, and all the men have bowl cuts. And, like, no eyebrows. And they're all just real dumb looking. Say,
as someone who earlier in this very podcast talked about how there need to be more founts of beautiful curly hair on screen, I am personally affronted that they took this away from me.
Oh, yeah, no. The Alloy hair everyone's hair looks extremely dehydrated.
Ugh. Rude. Fucking rude.
So, by the way, I just wanted to say, the year is 2018, and the Morlocks still scare the hell out of me. They're terrifying.
I'm gonna Google this because I've never seen a representation of the Morlocks.
Their face is not incredibly dissimilar to the animatronic from the Matterhorn bobsleds in Disneyland, which I don't like that thing. I don't like any Disney monster animatronics. They give me the heebie-jeebies. They spook me. The Morlocks are very scary, and there's the whole thing where it's like, oh, you can see the zipper. There's only a zipper on the flame suit, so one of the Morlocks catches on fire at one point. And you can see the zipper on that suit, and I'm like, you know what, fair though, because I'd want to be able to have an obvious zipper to get him out in case he couldn't stop burning too.
Man, I mean, it's certainly a look, you know. I got one thing to say about this fucking Morlock thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most capitalist bullshit I've ever heard. Like, for real. That, like, the Morlocks are working class people who just got driven under... Like, at a certain point, you're not going to evolutionarily adapt to your class position.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's definitely the conclusion of a human being who, like, does not believe in the uprising of lower classes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not possible.
Yeah. So, in the movie, there are these... How the Alloy have any knowledge of what's happening to them is they have these rings that when you spin them, they have a recording on them. And it is revealed in the movieverse that when it got to the point where the world had been so ravaged, some people decided to take their chances above ground, and some people were like, well, let's go underground and try to live down there, and let's create an underground society. And then the people in the above ground society were like, we need help. And the people in the underground society were like, well, we're doing pretty well. We'll help you. Psych! Now you're all cattle.
Jesus. Can I just say, Guy Pearce played the time machine dude in, like, the Time Machine, the 2002 film.
Oh, really?
Guy Pearce.
I mean, he looks a little bit like Alan Young, who originally played the time traveler.
Other people in this movie. It says Guy Pearce, Samantha Mumba, Orlando Jones, Jeremy Irons. Surely Jeremy Irons had other stuff he could have been doing in 2002. Apparently they had like a telepathic ruling cast in the 2002 version. I don't know. I don't know about this, Bridget.
Anyway.
Sorry.
My final take on the 1960 picture is he goes back in time and he's relaying the story to them at the dinner party.
Uh-huh.
And everyone kind of brushes him off, except for Philby. Philby's the good guy in this.
Not roasted.
Not roasted. Beloved. And it feels a little weird when he knows his friend is going to die in about 14 to 16 years.
Uh-huh.
Not to say, hey, don't do that. Like, you wouldn't save your best friend. Are you creating an alternate timeline? Yes, but come, say something. Say anything. He basically takes all of his knowledge of the future and absconds again.
Huh.
And he moves, remember how it was in the northwest corner, and he's like, oh, that was in the pyramid. So he moves it back, and Philby susses out that it's the last place he saw Weena. So he moves it back to where she'll be.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, this...
Because she is a French ingenue in the motion picture.
Cool. Way to go, movies.
Anyway, that's the movie. What's our final segment?
This isn't so much like a final segment as it is just like a discussion piece. So like the book that we're about to do in our next episode, Core of the Sun, definitely takes like some elements of the Time Machine. I was curious if you thought that Shades of Grey borrowed it all. Because I'm gonna say it real quick. There's some similarities that I just thought of while I was reading with Shades of Grey. They had tiered societies of like worker and rough living folks versus like the sort of like soft and ridiculous people. Then with that sort of like class distinction of like the grays versus people who could see the colors. They had an immense fear of the dark. There's like a manufactured hardiness to light with like, you know what I mean? Like just like a manufactured light sensitivity. There was like unexplained technology that never really got resolved in the Time Machine, and like towers and stuff that he couldn't really figure out exactly what was going on with it. And then they had like the Green Museum that meant a lot for some reason to the story, which correlates with the Emerald City.
Interesting. I could say you could make a case. I feel like Time Machine has influenced a lot of science fiction writers.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dollars to Donuts, Jasper Fjord, with all of his zany and wondrous inventions and stuff, has definitely read through H.G. Wells probably a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could say you could make the case for that.
I mean, and I don't think that it was like a primary source necessarily for where he was going with it, but like just the thing that initially set me off to it was how terrified the Eloi were of the dark.
Yeah.
And I know that like some of that is definitely because of the Morlocks, but I also think that like whatever the name is in Shades of Grey for the people who like wander outside of the cities, like there's a similar
the Night Loss.
Yeah, so like Night Loss, like all of the like different folks they were scared of that could be lurking out in the dark were like Morlock adjacent. And so I just thought that like immense fear of the dark totally could have been inspired by this. Anyway, that was just the last segment I wanted. I just like noticing when the books that we read tend to have little connections to each other. So yeah, this was just our fun little section on the Time Machine, which was necessary to build up to Core of the Sun.
Core of the Sun is a wild book, guys. I highly recommend reading it.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited for it.
And
these episodes are going to come out one right after the other, so...
We'll let you know ahead of time to grab these books.
Yep. I'm very excited to go over it, though. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. I hope it was fun to listen to. Bridget and I will see you so soon for The Core of the Sun by... Is it Johanna or Johanna? It's Johanna probably, huh?
Johanna Sinisalo.
Yeah, Johanna Sinisalo. She is Finnish, and she wrote The Core of the Sun, which is very good. So...
Enjoy. We'll listen to us next time, I guess.
Yeah, this is a weird one to end because we didn't have our usual structure. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this very special episode of Could Be Worse. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing our podcast on Stitcher, Google Play, or the iTunes Store, or newly, Spotify. Or just wherever you get your podcasts. If you didn't enjoy what you heard, try our regular episodes for just a skosh more of that structure kids crave. You can check out our website at couldbeworsepod.com, follow the podcast on Twitter or Facebook with the handle @couldbeworsepod, and check out more from your humble and loving hosts on Twitter and Instagram at the handles @magnesiumqueen for Bridget and @Caitlin Obum for me, aspiring casting director and One Direction academic, Caitlin Obum. Also, if you'd be interested in seeing some live work by me, I have a show going up at the Pocket Theater on March 31st. That's this upcoming Saturday, as part of my sketch group Drop the Root Beer and Run. It's a really fun sketch comedy western called Spittoon Shine. I am in love with that pun. You can check out show times and get tickets at www.thepocket.org if that's a thing that sounds fun to you. I promise there are goofs and laughs to be had. So thank you for listening, and we will see you soon with The Core of the Sun by Johanna Sinisalo. It's going to be out right next week. We're going to have a little shortened release schedule because of these two sort of cousin tales we're telling. Bye!